Okay, Commissioner, you may now begin.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, February 24th of 2022 at 4 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Administrative and Regulatory Committee of the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County. We welcome you all this evening. We will probably be having a relatively short meeting. We have only 2 agenda items to cover today. And the first of the 2 agenda items is to approve minutes from our last meeting, which was November 15th of 2021. With me here today is also Commissioner Linda Kroom, and we may be joined later in the meeting by Commissioner Pamela Bird. She's not present yet, and we are not sure if she's going to be able to make it or not. Linda, would you be willing to make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 15th of 2021?
So moved, Commissioner.
Thank you. I will second them. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the Administrative and Regulatory Committee from November 15th, 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved unanimously. Thank you. Our main item today and our only action item is a recommendation from staff related to supportive housing and the way that that program operates. And I understand that Fred Swan is with us today. Fred, are you the person who's going to be presenting on this?
I am.
Great. Whatever you can do to enlighten us on this program and the change that you are proposing would be helpful.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Fred Swan, the Director of Resident Services. I also have with me Mary Phillips, who oversees the Supportive Housing Program. I'm here today to present a request for the committee to recommend to the full commission that it authorizes the acting executive director or her designee to enter into lease agreements with landlords under the Supportive Housing Program. The Supportive Housing Program is a permanent supportive housing initiative funded through HUD grants. The program serves formerly homeless individuals and families who have disabilities. The program serves one of the most vulnerable populations in the county. We are currently serving 239 participants under the program. HUD stipulates that all jurisdictions administering the program operate under one of 2 program structures. These include the rental assistance structure, which is akin to the voucher program, in that participants pay 30% of their income in rent to the landlord. They enter into lease agreements with landlords, and the agency pays the balance of the rent. Under the leasing structure, the agency enters into lease agreements with landlords, and the program participants enter into occupancy agreements with the agency and pays their portion of the rent to the agency. We are recommending moving to a leasing structure as it provides the most flexibility and will allow for the collection of additional revenue beyond the HUD grants. Under the rental assistance structure, participants are subject to evictions by landlord, which makes it difficult to rehouse them due to negative marks on their tenant history and credit. Operating under a leasing model would shield participants from this, as HOC would effectively be their landlord and be able to move them freely into other units leased by HOC should the need to move arise. Additionally, under the leasing structure, the rent payments from the participants to HOC can be utilized beyond the grant funds to support additional program participants and additional support services. This is possible because HUD pays nearly 100% of all rents through the grant, so revenue generated from the participants' portion of the rent is not needed for rent and therefore can be used differently. We are currently operating the program as a hybrid between both structures. The participants currently have leases with landlords, but they pay HOC their portion of the rent. The revenue generated by these rents has allowed us to serve an additional 15 participants beyond what the HUD grant provides for. We also pay utilities and provide other supports as needed. We must move from the current hybrid structure to fully operating under either a rental assistance or leasing structure. Based on the advantages of the leasing structure, we are proposing to move to a leasing structure and therefore need authorization from the Commission for the acting executive director or her designee to enter into lease agreements. That completes my summary, and I'm available to answer any questions that we may have.
Thank you very much. This is a relatively small program, so I am not as familiar with it as many others, and I'm guessing that's also true of many of the commissioners. And so all the background you can provide is possible. I have a couple of questions, but I also want to make sure that Linda has time to ask any questions she has. Linda, would you like to go first, or would you prefer for me to ask my questions first?
Okay, let me go. I'll go first.
Okay.
Can you explain again the disadvantages to the rental assistance?
Well, the disadvantages would be because they sign lease agreements with their landlord. This is a very vulnerable population who has disabilities. There are times when they do get evicted. And when that happens, it's hard to rehouse them because then there's negative marks on their tenant history or their credit or both in that situation. But if we are leasing the units, then we can move them throughout lease units that we lease. So they would have an occupancy agreement with us as opposed to a lease with a private landlord.
So you're getting the landlord out, and it'll be
Right, out of the equation with the
Right.
actual participant, yes.
Okay.
So it provides a layer of protection for
Exactly.
the participant
Mhm.
to continue receiving the services.
Right,
Okay.
because in most situations, when they get into some trouble with their lease, we move them into other units anyway currently, but sometimes that's a struggle because of, again, the negative marks on their tenant or credit history.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Fran.
These questions have more to do with the program than the specific change that you're recommending, which I don't have any problem with as best I can tell, but just to better understand the program, I'm going to try to draw an analogy and tell me if you think it has any validity or not to see if I'm understanding this. I know there's a lot of discussion in the county about what's called the lack of middle or the missing middle in housing. And by that, what is generally meant is there's nothing between single family and large multifamily apartment buildings. There's not a lot of duplexes, triplexes, all of that. I know coming out of healthcare, there's also a missing middle problem in healthcare, and that is there's a lack of strong financing and support for people with chronic conditions. And it sounds like the population this program is designed to serve is some of that missing middle in healthcare who have housing needs, but they also have disabilities that make it more challenging for them to lead life. I think it would be helpful to hear a little bit now, and then when we go to the full commission with this, about the full scope of services available to these people within this program, and just literally for board education, because it is a small program that we may not all be as familiar with. Can you or can anyone else from the staff give a little background on, in addition to the rent, what else these people qualify for under this program?
Yes, well, in addition to the rent, we provide intensive case management services. We have resident counselors who provide the case management services. They do one-on-one visits with the participants at least monthly, but sometimes more depending on the need. We also pay utilities. We provide transportation if needed. We provide medical assistance or finances for medication, things like that, because most of the participants are either an SSI and have very little income. So we do provide those additional supports as they need it.
Great. That is exactly the kind of patching holes in the social safety network that is so needed because of the missing middle in so many programs. So that's good to hear. I think it would be really helpful to have a little bit of information on that in the package when it goes forward.
Okay.
I just think it would be of interest to the rest of the commission to know what all people get. My second question has to do with getting into the program. You mentioned the certain number that the grant from HUD is already covering or designed to cover, and that we apparently have an ability where there are efficiencies that we have gained as you are proposing and hoping to under this new structure, that there's an ability to bring additional people into the program. Can you describe a little bit more how that works, what it takes to qualify?
Yes,
know-
to get in the program, we get referrals from the Homeless Continuum of Care, which is essentially DHHS. And these are people who are coming out of their homeless system. We get the referrals, we screen the applicants, and then we process them through the program. So the referrals come directly from HHS for the program. And that's how we bring it through. How we're able to provide additional participants is with the rental income that comes in, and we currently do this now with the rental income that comes in from the participants, since we don't need them to pay the rent, since HUD grant essentially pays all of the rent, we use that to fund case managers, we use that to fund the rents for the additional participants in the program and any other services that we need, particularly utilities or other support services.
Great. Great. I think again, just in terms of presentation to the full board, it would help to have some information on that included as well. It does mention the fact that it frees up revenue or gives us increased revenue to work with in terms of providing program services. But I think some of that detail makes it a lot more meaningful in terms of what we're able to do with those resources. It's not just that it's revenue, it's that it's the capacity to provide additional resources that this population in particular needs. So
Sure.
that's very helpful to hear as well.
Fred,
Yes.
do you have to go through, you have to get a referral before you can get on this program, correct?
Yes, referrals come from HHS, directly from
Okay.
HHS.
And that's at the county level, HHS?
Yes, that's at the county level.
Okay, not the national HHS. Okay.
Because it's considered a program within the Homeless Continuum of Care. So they make the referrals for those programs.
Okay, and so if they have some type of disabilities or mental health, would you know about that with the referral?
Yeah, that information comes in with the referral. What we do is before we enroll them into the program, we do an intake assessment. Then we determine what their disabilities are or what they need particular help with. So yeah, we do find that out when we do the intake.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Linda?
No, he was pretty clear.
Yeah, that adding that additional information into this packet, I think will be very helpful when it gets to the board. Everybody's always trying to learn as much as possible about the programs we oversee, and I think this is a great opportunity for this one, which doesn't come to the board very often otherwise. So that's great.
Sure.
And Fred, if
Mhm.
when you send the package, if you could could you highlight, because HUD pays 100% of the participant rent, this revenue will be available to serve more people because they're
Sure.
going to ask questions.
Sure.
That's a very good point.
Great.
We'll definitely include that.
With that, it sounds like it's a very logical and helpful way to improve what we're doing and help to make the resources go further. So I have no problems with including our favorable view of this program as it goes to the board. Linda, would you like to move that we recommend to the board that they accept the recommendations from the staff?
Yes, I would. I
Okay.
would like to say that this is a very good program because I did read over some of it. And I just had a few questions before, and he answered them very good. So I move that this goes to the board.
And I second that.
This would be for our meeting in March, right? This would go
Yes.
to the board for March. Okay,
Yes.
I want to be clear. Okay, cool.
Great. So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. This
Thank you.
committee looks forward to seeing this again at the March full board meeting.
Sure. Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Fred.
Is there any other business to come before the committee at this point? No, there being no other business, then I will adjourn this meeting. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.